Your house is not dirty because you are lazy. Your house is dirty because you were taught to clean it wrong. You were taught that cleaning is an event, something you schedule, something you dedicate a Saturday morning to, something that requires motivation, energy, and a large block of time you never seem to have. And so, it gets postponed. The dishes pile, the surface is dull, the dust collects, and eventually, the guilt arrives not because the mess is unbearable, but because you know you should have done something about it 3 days ago. In Chinese households, this cycle does not exist. Not because Chinese families have more time, not because their homes are simpler, but because cleaning was never treated as an event in the first place. It was built into the rhythm of the day, in fragments so small, they barely feel like effort. 3 minutes here, 90 seconds there. A single wipe after a meal, a quick sweep before bed, and by the end of the week, the house is not clean because someone finally got around to cleaning it. It is clean because it was never allowed to become dirty. This video is about those habits, the ones that take 3 minutes or less. The ones Chinese families pass from generation to generation without ever calling them a cleaning routine. Stay until habit number 8. It is the one that makes every other habit in this video permanent. Habit number 4 takes exactly 4 seconds, and it will eliminate one of the most common sources of kitchen bacteria overnight. And if you have ever spent an entire weekend deep cleaning and felt exhausted by Monday, habit number 6 will show you why that cycle was broken from the start. Let us begin. Here is the model most people in the West follow. You ignore the small messes throughout the week because each one feels too minor to deal with. Then the small messes compound. The counter has crumbs, the sink has dishes, the floor has dust, the bathroom mirror has spots. And now it is no longer a small task. It is a project. It requires willpower. And a 2018 study, published in the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine by Arlinghouse and Hale at the University of Houston, found that relying on willpower and motivation for repeated health behaviors is one of the least sustainable strategies, because willpower is a depletable resource. It runs out every single time. Chinese culture solved this problem centuries ago with a principle that lives at the intersection of feng shui and daily discipline. It is called chuan, diligence in small, repeated action. Not the diligence of a marathon, the diligence of breathing. You do not decide to breathe. You do not schedule it. You simply do it because it is woven into the fabric of being alive. Chinese households treat cleaning the same way. It is not a task, it is a texture. These are 9 habits each 3 minutes or less that Chinese families use to keep their homes spotless without ever performing a deep clean. And if Sino Living is already changing the way you think about your home right now, subscribe, because what comes next will change the way you move through it. Habit number 1. Sweep the entryway every morning before anything else. In feng shui, the front door is called the mouth of qi and euro, the point through which all energy enters the home. An old Chinese tradition, documented by feng shui practitioners across generations, is to sweep the entryway daily, not once a week, every morning. It takes less than 90 seconds. A broom, a quick pass across the threshold, and the first 2 meters inside the door. Dust, tracked-in debris, fallen leaves, shoe residue, all of it removed before the day begins. This is not ceremonial. It is strategic. A 2020 review published in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine by Raju and colleagues confirmed that household dust contains allergens from dust mites, pet dander, mold spores, and particulate matter, all of which accumulate fastest at entry points where outdoor air meets indoor surfaces. The American Lung Association identifies dust mites body parts and droppings as one of the major indoor triggers for allergies and asthma. Every day your entryway goes unswept. It becomes a distribution center. The dust at the door does not stay at the door. It travels on your feet, in the air current, across the floor, into the bedroom. 90 seconds with a broom stops the chain at the source. Chinese families do not sweep the entryway because they see dirt. They sweep it because they know dirt is arriving, whether they see it or not. That is habit number 1. Habit number 2. Wipe the kitchen counter immediately after cooking, every time. Not after dinner, not before bed, not tomorrow morning. The moment the last plate is served, the counter gets wiped. 1 damp cloth, 1 pass, 30 seconds. In Chinese kitchens, particularly in households that practice daily wok cooking, this is automatic. The stove is wiped after every use. The counter is cleared after every meal. There is no accumulation because there is no delay between the action that created the mess and the action that removed it. The science supports this with uncomfortable clarity. NSF International conducted a household germ study in 2011 that swabbed 30 common household objects across multiple homes. The results showed that kitchen surfaces, countertops, cutting boards, and sinks carried some of the highest levels of coliform bacteria, yeast, and mold in the entire house. The kitchen outranked the bathroom. 3 of the top 5 germiest locations in the home were in the kitchen. Bacteria multiply exponentially in warm, moist, food residue environments. A counter left with cooking residue for 4 hours does not have 4 times the bacteria it had at minute 1. It has thousands of times more. The wipe is not about appearance. It is about breaking the multiplication window before it opens. That is habit number 2. Habit number 3. Wash dishes immediately after eating. Never let them soak. In many Western homes, dishes go into the sink. Water is added. They soak. And they sit, sometimes for hours, sometimes overnight. The logic is that soaking makes them easier to clean later. The reality is that soaking creates a bacterial breeding environment that makes the final cleaning less effective, not more. A 2017 study from the Journal of Food Protection by Baruso and Quinlan found that kitchen sinks were among the most contaminated surfaces in the household, with 46% of samples exceeding safe bacterial thresholds. Standing water with food particles at room temperature is the precise environment that E. coli, Salmonella, and Klebsiella thrive in. In Chinese households, dishes are washed immediately after the meal, not placed in a dishwasher for a future cycle. Not left to soak. Washed, rinsed, dried, and put away. The sink is emptied and wiped before anyone leaves the kitchen. The cultural logic is rooted in the feng shui principle that a clean sink represents clarity and flow. Stagnant water in the kitchen symbolizes stagnant fortune. But the practical logic is equally clear. The fastest way to prevent contamination is to eliminate the conditions that create it. 3 minutes. That is all it takes to wash the dishes from a standard family meal. When you do it the moment the meal is over. Waiting turns 3 minutes into €20 plus guilt. That is habit number 3. Habit number 4. Close the toilet lid before flushing every single time. This is the 4-second habit I promised you. A 2022 study from the University of Colorado Boulder, published in Scientific Reports, used laser visualization to capture what happens during a lidless flush. Aerosolized particles containing bacteria and fecal matter were ejected upward at 2 meters per second, reaching heights of 1.5 meters within 8 seconds. A literature review by Johnson and colleagues published in the American Journal of Infection Control confirmed that these particles can remain airborne for hours, settling on every surface in the bathroom, including your toothbrush, your towel, and the counter where you place your face products. 4 seconds. That is how long it takes to close the lid. And in Chinese households, it is non-negotiable. Children learn this before they learn to tie their shoes. If you are reaching for the flush handle right now, without reaching for the lid first, everything else you clean in that bathroom is being recontaminated every time you walk away. That is habit number 4. And if this is making you rethink the small things, the ones you never questioned, tap that like button. This is what Sino Living is built on, and your support helps this reach someone whose home needs to hear it today. Habit number 5. Make the bed the moment you stand up. Not after breakfast, not before work. The moment your feet touch the floor, you turn around and make the bed. 2 minutes, sometimes less. Admiral William McRaven, former commander of U.S. Special Operations, famously said that making your bed every morning means you have accomplished the first task of the day, Nestor, and it encourages you to accomplish the next one, and the next one after that. But in Chinese culture, this was never a motivational speech. It was simply how the day began. The bed is where you sleep. Sleep is where the body restores. And the space of restoration must be respected the moment you leave it. There is a deeper mechanism at work. A 2009 study by Dr. Philippa Lally and colleagues at University College London, published in the European Journal of Social Psychology, found that habit formation follows a pattern. When a behavior is attached to a consistent cue, like standing up, and repeated in the same sequence, it becomes automatic in an average of 66 days. Making the bed is not discipline. After 2 months, it is gravity. It happens because standing up happens. A made bed changes the entire visual energy of a bedroom. It signals order. It reduces the visual clutter that Princeton University's Neuroscience Institute found competes for cognitive resources and reduces your brain's ability to focus. A single habit, 2 minutes. And the largest surface in the room is handled before you have had your first glass of water. That is habit number 5. Habit number 6. Never save cleaning for the weekend. This is the habit I told you would explain why the deep cleaning cycle is broken. When you postpone small cleaning tasks throughout the week, you are not saving time. You are accumulating what psychologist Bluma Zygarnik identified in 1927 euros, a cognitive load created by incomplete tasks. The Zygarnik effect demonstrates that the brain holds unfinished actions in active memory, producing a low-grade psychological tension that does not resolve until the task is complete. Every dish in the sink, every stain on the counter, every pile of laundry you walk past, your brain registers it, not consciously, but physiologically. A 2010 study by Saxby and Rapetti at UCLA examined 60 dual-income spouses and found that women who described their homes using words associated with clutter and unfinished tasks had flatter cortisol slopes throughout the day, a pattern linked to chronic stress, poorer health outcomes, and greater depressive symptoms. The home was not a refuge, it was a reminder. Chinese families avoid this entirely, not through willpower, but through distribution. Cleaning is not a weekend block, it is a daily breath. The entryway is swept in the morning. The kitchen is wiped after meals. The bathroom is maintained after use. The floor is swept before bed. Each task takes 1 to 3 minutes, and by the end of the week, there is nothing left to deep clean, because nothing was ever allowed to accumulate past the point of a quick wipe. You do not need a cleaning day. You need to stop creating the conditions that require one. That is habit number 6. Habit number 7. Put things back in their place the moment you finish using them. Not on the counter, not on the table, not, for now, back, immediately. In Chinese culture, Every object in the home has a designated place, a principle reinforced through both feng shui philosophy and practical family discipline. When something is used, it is returned. When something is removed from a shelf, it goes back to the same position on the same shelf. The home does not have a junk drawer. It does not have a "I will deal with that later" pile. It has locations, and the discipline of returning items to those locations is taught to children so young that by the time they are adults, it is invisible. Dr. B.J. Fogg, behavioral scientist and founder of Stanford University's Behavior Design Lab, refers to this as a tiny habit, a behavior so small that it requires no motivation, no planning, and no willpower. The key, according to Fogg's research, is anchoring the tiny behavior to an existing action. You finish using the scissors, you return the scissors. The return is not a separate task, it is the completion of the first task. When objects have homes and return to them automatically, surfaces stay clear, drawers stay organized, and the visual calm that results is not the product of a cleaning session. It is the product of 1,000 micro-decisions that were never allowed to become decisions at all. That is habit number 7. Habit number 8. End the day with a 3-minute reset and let nothing carry over to tomorrow. This is the habit I told you makes every other habit in this video permanent, and it is the simplest one of all. Before bed, walk through 3 rooms: the kitchen, the bathroom, the living room. In each room, do one thing: wipe one surface, return one misplaced object, straighten one area. 3 rooms, 3 actions, 3 minutes. This is not a cleaning routine, it is a closing ritual. In Chinese culture, the end of the day is not marked by sitting down and turning off the lights. It is marked by closing the home, the way a shopkeeper closes a store. Every surface accounted for. Every object in place. The space is prepared for the next day, not left carrying the residue of the one that just ended. The psychological power of this is supported by the same research from Arlinghouse and Hale. Habits sustained through routine and environmental cues outperform habits that depend on motivation. You do not need to feel like doing a 3-minute reset. You need to walk through the rooms at the same time every night. After 66 days, according to Lally's research, it will no longer require effort. It will require effort to skip it. A Chinese home does not stay clean because someone is constantly cleaning. It stays clean because the day begins with a sweep, moves through meals that are wiped and washed in real time, operates on a principle that objects return to where they belong, and closes with a 3-minute walk that leaves nothing unfinished for the morning. That is habit number 8, and it is the thread that holds all the others together. Now here is what these 8 habits share. None of them take more than 3 minutes. None of them require products, schedules, or motivation. None of them were invented by a cleaning influencer or sold in a subscription box. They were passed down through Chinese families, from grandmother to mother to daughter, not as a system, but as a way of living. A way of being in a space that says, "This home is not something I clean. It is something I care for." The entryway swept before the day begins. The counter wiped the moment the meal ends. The dishes washed before the water grows cold. The lid closed before the flush. The bed made before the first step forward. The weekend freed from the debt of the week. The object returned before the hand forgets. The home closed before the eyes close. You do not need a deep clean. You need to stop waiting for the mess to earn your attention, because by the time it does, the 3-minute window has already passed Euro, and what remains is an hour you did not have, spent on a problem that should never have existed. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which habit are you starting tonight? Not tomorrow, tonight, which one are you anchoring to something you already do so it becomes permanent? And if there is someone in your life who spends every weekend cleaning and still feels like the house is never quite right, someone who deserves to know that it does not have to be this hard, send them this video. You do not have to explain it. Just share it. They will understand. And if you are new to Sino living, this is what we do here. We look at the small, invisible habits that separate a home that drains you from a home that restores you. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.